Good morning, Higher Hope. This is Tuesday, April 28th, and this week I wanted to walk through this idea of mental health, but the way I'm going to use that term and the way we see it in Scripture is mental health is really close to the soul. When you talk about mental health or mental health issues or struggles, a lot of it's tied into what's happening in your soul and the word would be disintegration of your soul, how your soul's not functioning well. Your soul is in disrepair. Your soul is hurting. Your soul is struggling. And so I wanted to walk through a series of really understanding the soul, and then how we create some practices that bring healing to the soul. And really, if you want to put it into sociological terms or into psychological terms, how we deal with mental health in our culture. That's the word we're hearing a lot about in this time of crisis and the mental health issues coming out of this. And really, if you wanted to change the term, what you're going to see is that this virus is not really creating mental health issues as much as maybe possibly revealing mental health issues and maybe moving it in a stronger direction. We have soul issues. We struggle. We have brokenness in our soul. We have wounds in our soul. We have sin that's wrapped up in there, and we have all these thoughts that are not right, and we struggle in our soul. And so we have to come to Jesus and say, all right, Jesus, I need healing for my soul. I don't need, the physical side is one piece that God will eventually work in. And Jesus healed people back when he was walking the earth. But what he came for, what he's working on now is soul healing. This is one of the scriptures that he talks about. It says, what good is it for a man if he gains the whole world, has everything, and loses his soul or his even a step past his mental health? What happens if the soul just falls apart? You have everything else, but you have no soul. Or what can a man give in exchange for a soul? So what would you pay to have wholeness of soul, of that place where you're functioning the way that you were designed to function? The soul is really the whole of who we are. It's all the pieces fit together perfectly. And that when the soul is working well, which generally we are wrestling with something all the time, it just clicks and life is full. But when our soul is in anguish, the parts are working against each other. And so that's the disintegration of the soul. You can see this in going back to psychology, you see this struggle in all sorts of in young kids. You can see this battle playing out of their soul and the struggle in their soul. And you see this in teenagers, you see this in adults. And so this is not just something the Bible talks about, but it's also something that we can see at work. That's what I love about Scripture is it ties together not only what God reveals to us, but thousands of years ago He reveals it, and we see it through the sciences that they're true today. And so let me just give you one piece of the soul. The soul is design. The middle part of the soul is our will, which is kind of our. We get to choose. We get to choose to turn left or right. We get to choose to what restaurant we may go to at some point. We choose what we do when we're home. We get to choose what we watch. We choose. We are people of will, and so the will is a great thing because it helps us make decisions. It helps us decide what college to go to, what job to take. The will is something that is a reflection of God and says, "Hey, He wanted at the center of who we are is free will. That He gives us a choice whether to follow Him or not. We're not enslaved by Him. We get to choose Him, and so at the center of our soul is this idea of what do we choose? What will we choose? Him, or will we choose our path? Will we choose to surrender to Him, or will we choose to run our own plans? And so what happened in the garden is our will failed. Adam and Eve each they made a decision. They chose to do it their way underneath the guise of the lies of Satan. They're like, they went a different path. Their will chose to do it their way, and so they said, I want to be the God of my life. That's will. I want to be in control. I want to do what I want to do, and God has designed us. I think the way we function best, and this is John Ortberg. I think he's quoting Dallas Willard. He says, "Our soul functions best when our will is surrendered." the freest we can be is a surrendered will, especially to God. Let me explain the picture in a different way. Um, Kids are have a carefree and just this trust and this freedom to play and to delight and to enjoy because they get to live underneath the leadership of their parents. They're surrendered to their parents. Now, I know not all the time, but they are underneath their leadership, so they can relax and rest and trust. And so I think there's a lot of truth in that. There's a lot of truth in the fact that at the end of the day, we have this battle going on inside of us. What will we choose? And not just the minor decisions, but the big decisions. What will we choose? Will we choose to surrender to God, or will we do it our way? And our will is freed up. It functions best when we surrender to God. It might be something you need to wrestle with a little bit, but there's something that releases all the other things. It kind of it starts making the rest of the soul function better when we say, all right, I'm going to surrender. This is what the Bible says over and over again from the Old Testament to the New Testament. It's the same discussion. He says, this is James 4:7. Submit yourself, therefore, to God. Submit. Humility is part of that. Trust is part of that. And so, when you're talking about the functioning of the will and the soul and the brokenness of the soul, at the core issue of every person's life, many mental health struggles, is the surrender of their will and putting our will underneath the lordship of Jesus Christ. And so I wonder if that's all of our struggles. And I wonder if you're wrestling with this whole surrender, this whole submitting, this whole giving yourself wholly God. Because the Bible also says you can't serve two masters. You will love the one, hate the other, or you will serve the one and not serve the other. And then he says you can't serve both God and money. You can't have it two ways. You're either surrendered to God or you're not. And so that's just something, as you look at your soul and where you're wrestling, I just want you to spend some time thinking about, are you surrendered? Not just in one area, but in every area. Are you trusting him that his will is best?